Okay, look, now the people that are still watching this are the golf punters. They're the serious, they really want to know what's going on. So let's try not to be ambiguous. What worked 2 years ago that doesn't work now?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it really changes as quickly as that. I think the big difference with golf betting as a whole compared to 2 years ago, are things like the place markets, which we touched on earlier. I think there's been an explosion of Twitter accounts tipping stuff up on golf, and it relates to daily fantasy sports as well. There's a, and what you end up with is, so when first started in the game, you used to be able to find little nuggets out here and there. This player went to college here, or this player's played this course 100 times when people thinking he's only played it a couple of times. With so many people focusing so much time on it now, is those sorts of edges become increasingly difficult to actually find.
Okay, so how quickly can you spot something that you've got a nice few quid out of that was working, but it's starting to go a little bit sour?
Um, it's very difficult because one of the problems you have is variance and luck. Honestly, a lot of the time it's just you get a feel for when edges are waning. You're getting your money in, and I touched on the NBA earlier, where you begin to you get that sinking feeling where you're going, not again, not again, and you have to be. I think one of the things is you have to be honest with yourself in terms of whether you are making it pay, or you know just saying, oh, I was unlucky. That doesn't pay the bills.
Okay, so were there any instances you can think of where you didn't adapt quickly enough to something that was turning the wrong way?
Well, I probably wish I'd stopped doing NBA before I did. But again,
How long did you give that a go for?
most of it, best part of the season. So I think, yeah, I think that again, it's a great example because it's rare that you actually get something that's so clear in your mind as to when it's not working. And potentially we should have stopped it earlier. But on the flip side is you have to give it a bit of a chance because of variance, and you have to, maybe you are running just badly. The upside with if you get an NBA model in running that works great, then the upside is so big that you have to be willing to, potentially push a little bit further than you might in another sport in terms of what you're willing to lose or otherwise.
It just comes across just a little bit surprised that somebody like yourself has been so successful would wave the white flag rather than say, right, we're going to crack this and knuckle down. Was it if the upside could be so big?
I think so. On a sport like golf, I don't believe there's many people out there between myself and the person I was doing golf with who would know, in terms of all the little nuances and all that sort of stuff. I don't believe that there's people out there who know more than what we do. Been doing it for 20 odd years and watching, every event, and you've seen it all, and the problem with NBA is I'm not sure that we had a good enough understanding of some of those little nuances in terms of matchups and things like that to in terms of floor spacing, and it's just very subtle little things that they weren't sports I think knew well enough in the same way we would know golf, where you have the confidence to sort of plough on regardless.
Okay, now you talk about golf tipsters. There's a lot of them out there. A lot of them seem to be very good, and you say they've been the bane of the pro punter's life because they're so successful. So they're giving people stuff for free that you've taken weeks or a lifetime to work out. But can a golf tipster maintain that success?
So I wouldn't. Right. So I think I'd clarify. It's not a case of them being so successful. So what's happened is, what you have to picture with any betting market is look at it how it is from the bookmaker's point of view, right? So they have these sort of matrices. Imagine an Excel spreadsheet where they may say on the Thursday of the event that they're willing to lay £5,000 on a player, right? On the Wednesday, they might be willing to lay £3,000. On a Tuesday, maybe 2,000. Monday, it might be 1,000. And so they're willing to take a lot, and it's the same with football, and they're willing to take a lot less money earlier in the week. And what's ended up happening is the tipsters, in a battle to sort of fight against each other, is back in the day, you used to get your Jeremy Chapmans and Steve Palmers on a Wednesday who would do the Racing Post. And on a Wednesday, so if you look back at the Matrix, they're going, you can get more money on before prices move and that sort of stuff on a Wednesday. And what's ended up happening is the tipsters, so they can try and secure better prices because there's more competition, there's so many other people doing it, they've moved from the Wednesday to the Tuesday, and then move to the Monday. And so what ends up happening is they're tipping stuff up, and someone like Ben Coley, who's very successful, is he'll tip something up on a Monday, and it takes less money than ever to see the price crash. And so what you end up with is a situation where you have different tipsters all tipping different selections. All you see is this, a sea of prices crashing on odds checker. Nothing ever gets pushed back out, and it really, really impacts the sort of the markets. So I'll tell you a story about Shubhankar Sharma. So because it involved Ben and it involved Monday evening. So this is a player I've known for a long time. There's a tournament in Malaysia, Maybank Malaysian Open, and I really, really liked his chances that week. Obviously, a lot was depending on what price he came in at relative to the field, and he opened up at 80s with the books, and he was a little bit 85s on Betfair, and I'd had small, little amounts of money on him on the exchange and with a couple of bookies, very small bets, trying to keep under the radar. And 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock on the Monday evening, Ben Coley's headline tip is Shubhankar Sharma. Not good, right? So next thing you know is obviously price crashes everywhere. And so you're left with a situation where, what do? I can't go to shops, right? I'm running out of online accounts. And so I ended up sticking a bet up on Betfair to win $1 million. So it was about £14,000 at 70s or 75s, I can't remember exactly what it was. And I felt I had no option. I wanted to get a decent bet on him. If it all got matched, so be it. I wasn't, I was happy with the bet. And what I really wanted was people to talk about, and actually hope that people would come into the market and potentially would lay some of the bet. And it's funny because on Twitter at the time there was an exchange where people were talking about it and they didn't know I was behind it, and they were going, Ben, people are following you, they must really like your tips. And, people following someone's tips don't stick 14 grand up on a 70 to 1 shot. And then someone else is like, a pro punter wouldn't bet like this. And, and it ended up, next thing I know, Steve Palmer on the Wednesday, he's tipped it up. It's his headline tip at 50 to 1. And, he ended up winning. But it sort of really highlighted to me that the problem with tipsters is, crashing any sort of value left, right and centre, and comes a time and a point where sometimes you have to do what may seem like crazy things in order to try and get on. And I think I remember at Betfair when Harry Findlay, I can't remember the name of the dog, but there was I think it was the Derby, and we're at work, and it was on a Friday night, and suddenly £500,000 has appeared on a dog, and we're all like going, this is strange. And the next thing you know is that 500,000 is 900,000. So someone wants, a £900,000 bet on, Harry Finley owned dog. I wonder who it was, sort of thing. And and I think he got a fair bit matched. And but it felt pretty similar to that, in that sometimes you just have to, stick a large chunk up and hope you get matched.
So you say you've put 14 grand up to win £1 million at 70. That's with the fractions, isn't it? So have you ever had a bet like that match? What would have been your biggest win?
Biggest win would have been Spieth, I think, in the 2015 US Masters. That was over about 225, something like that.
The biggest loss?
So I remember losing over 40 on the Open when Zach Johnson won. I remember having big bet on Dustin Johnson after round 2, ended up on Spieth, and then I also remember losing 40 on Ricky Fowler. Just a disastrous event in Arizona, Scottsdale. I had some beautiful positions on him, and he had a 5-shot lead, and you're feeling pretty comfortable, and then he was just short the 11th in 2, par 4, chipped it into the water, which, you know, he's one of the best chippers in the world. It's just unusual. And then, you know, there was a rules issue where he placed the ball on the bank, the ball trickled into the water, so he had another shot penalty. He ended up taking like a triple bogey. He then bogeyed the next. Brandon Grace, meanwhile, birdied a couple. And so positions flip-flopping everywhere, just gets very ugly. And then, you know, ended up being on Grace rather than Fowler, and then Fowler came back and won anyway. So it was just it was an absolute disaster from start to finish, to be honest. It was just one of those events where there's not much you can do about it. Is, you know, you're happy with the decisions you've made at various points, and sometimes lady luck isn't really smiling on you.
What's your coping mechanism? Do you go out and get shit-faced, or what do you do?
Not really. I think it's tough not... You know, my coping mechanism, weirdly, is actually writing down the results, bad results, as soon as possible, and then I can forget about them. And then you sort of try and move on, and just realise that this is a tough game. You know, you can have good breaks, bad breaks, and it's tough mentally.
They've mentioned it's a tough game. You've been doing it for a decade. Like, are you confident you can remain a professional punter? Or do you even want to remain a professional punter? You got a figure you'd like to win and then retire to the beach or something?
No, I think what people don't realise is you have no idea what's round the corner with this game. So, I mean, the poker guys saw it Black Friday, where suddenly, you know, all the poker sites in America were frozen and funds seized, and one of the worries I have with a lot of the affordability stuff that's coming in at the moment is you've no idea really what lies around the corner in terms of where it's going long term. I just don't know. I think the one thing I'd always say about betting is if you have an edge, you have to try and smash it as aggressively as you can, as quickly as you can, because you have no idea how long the edge will last for, and you have no idea as to whether things outside of your control will affect what you're doing.
Okay, so do you see your approach adapting in the next 2 or 3 years?
I don't think much will change, if I'm honest, in the next couple of years. We'll just have to wait and see in terms of, you know, how P&L looks, and, you know, whether you think your edge is getting eroded. I mean, what people have to understand is that this game is getting tougher and tougher and tougher.
And is that a lot of competition? Do you think is that in you know what you do? A lot of smart guys with the computers, and
I think, you know, it's so something like golf. Stats become more and more prevalent. The more stats become prevalent, is the better that the sport can be modelled, and, you know, it gets tougher and tougher. You know, people are willing to throw money at trying to make money.
Okay, so finally, I mean, you said you don't know what's around the corner. I mean, do you look onto an horizon of 5 years? Have you got any aims to where you'd like to be in 5 years' time?
Well, look, if I'm still punting 5 years, I'll be happy, because it means it's gone all right. But I think there's a bit of me that, you know, I talk about incentives and these sorts of things, and I think I'd love to do something about incentives and what incentivises people to do, you know, make probably better decisions in life. And I think at some point I'd love to, you know, do something relating to that, either that or something within golf, because I just love playing golf. So, you know, if I'm out of the betting industry, then I can live with that. You know, it's I'm not sure it's quite the glamorous place that it used to be in terms of how it's perceived and everything else. But it's, you know, it's been a lot of fun, and you get to watch sport all day. What more can you ask for?
Well, on that note, Luke Paton, thank you very much.
No, thank you.